Thank you very much for inviting me to speak with you today. I wish I could be there because the issue of worker ownership and ESOPs is something very, very dear to my heart. Let me begin by thanking all of you for what you do for the concept of worker ownership. What you are doing is enormously important for our nation and for the working people of this country, and I look forward to working with you in the coming years. In my view, the economic benefits of employee ownership, the concept of workers coming together to own their own businesses, has not in any way gotten the kind of attention that it deserves. At a time when the gap between the very rich and everyone else in our country is growing wider and wider, when the income and wealth of average Americans are in serious decline, when corporate America has outsourced and continues to outsource millions of decent-paying jobs, and when the economy continues to struggle to create jobs that pay a livable wage, we have got to expand economic models that benefit the middle class. I strongly believe that employee ownership is one of those important models. The state of Vermont has been a national leader on the issue of employee ownership. Today, there are more than 30 ESOPs in Vermont and about a half a dozen worker cooperatives. Nationally, there are more than 10,000 employee-owned businesses throughout this country with about 10 million employees. Study after study has shown that employee ownership has been proven to increase employment, increase productivity, increase sales, and increase wages in the United States. Unlike large corporations that have been shipping jobs overseas, it goes without saying that employee-owned businesses are not going to move to China, move to Vietnam, or other low-wage countries where workers are paid pennies an hour. Further, employee-owned businesses boost morale because workers share in future profits and have greater control over their work life. In other words, instead of being a cog in a machine, workers who have decision-making power over their jobs come to work with a sense of satisfaction that relatively few employees have in our economy today. As a strong supporter of employee ownership dating back to my days as mayor of Burlington, I am working as hard as I can in the Senate to expand both employee stock ownership plans and eligible worker-owned cooperatives. When I was a member of Congress some years ago, I was pleased to be able to secure nearly $200,000 in federal funding for the startup of the Vermont Employee Ownership Center and a revolving loan fund for workers who needed assistance in establishing ESOPs. Unfortunately, despite the important role that worker ownership can play in revitalizing our economy, the federal government has failed to commit the resources needed to allow employee ownership to realize its true potential. Working together, we have got to make sure that changes. And that is why I have introduced two pieces of legislation, co-sponsored by Senators Leahy, Sherrod Brown of Ohio, Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut, and Daniel Akaka from Hawaii, that would significantly expand employee ownership in Vermont and throughout our country. The first bill, the Worker Ownership Readiness and Knowledge Act, called the Work Act, would provide federal funding to states to establish and expand employee ownership centers throughout our country. The Work Act is modeled on the success of the Vermont Employee Ownership Center, which has done an excellent job in educating workers, retiring business owners, and others about the benefits of worker ownership. This bill could provide the Vermont Employee Ownership Center with funding to educate even more people about this issue and provide the training and technical support necessary to start up or expand employee-owned companies. In addition, the Work Act would allow states in New England and throughout our country to establish their employee ownership centers. The second bill that I've introduced would create a U.S. employee ownership bank to provide affordable loans and other financial assistance to workers who would like to start their own businesses by establishing an ESOP or a worker-owned cooperative. Today, the federal government currently provides a wide variety of federal loans, loan guarantees, and other technical assistance to American companies as a way to increase U.S. jobs through exports. Providing federal financial assistance for the expansion of employee ownership would increase and retain jobs in the United States and strengthen our economy. By expanding employee ownership and participation, we can create stronger companies in New England and throughout this country, prevent job loss, and improve working conditions for employees from one end of this nation to the other. When employees own their own companies, when they work for themselves, when they are involved in the decision-making that impacts their lives, they become more motivated, worker absenteeism goes down, worker productivity goes up, and people stay on the job for a longer period of time. This is certainly a win-win-win formula. I am very proud that Vermont is one of the states leading the way in expanding employee ownership opportunities in our country. This is an issue of vital importance. I see huge potential out there. So together we have got to keep up our efforts, and at the end of the day, I believe that we're going to have a profound impact not only on our general economy, but on the lives of tens of millions of American workers. Once again, thank you very, very much for what you do. I'm sorry that I can't be with you today, but I do look forward to working with you in the years to come. Thank you all.